Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another INART 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Destined one from Black Myth Wukong. Now, I got mine at a discount from One Man's Hobby. I've popped a link to their site in the description. Interestingly enough, this is not the only Wukong figure that INART are planning to release. They're also working on a Wukong armor version of the Destined one, or maybe it's Wukong himself. I've popped an RSVP link to INART Direct also in the description, so as soon as that one is ready for pre-order, you will be the first to know if you've signed up to the RSVP list. While you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new INART figure review goes live on the channel. If you're sitting there right now thinking, ooh, that's some really nice artwork on the art box, I wouldn't blame you. It's gorgeous. We've got Wukong and Bajie entering the Celestial Court. I think that's what's happening here. It's done in the style of one of the scrolls that you get at the end of each chapter. But the funny thing is, as good as this looks, and it does, the art box is inside of it. This is not the art box. This is the shipper. I've never seen a company put this much effort into the shipper before. It also comes in an outer cardboard box with corner protectors, so 2 shippers in total. The artwork also spills over the edge before it terminates in black. There's this gradient effect all the way around. No logos, no warnings, nothing like that on this outer box. It's just pure artwork. Ah yes, how very INART, one of their signature clear plastic slipcovers that I am so fond of. Y'all know I don't love these, they get scratched up really easily. I wish they were smoked translucent acrylic, that way they would be more durable, and they would add some mystique to the unboxing experience. The only artwork printed on the slipcover this time is just some really small text up top that says Black Myth Wukong. They've pulled out all the stops today. This has to be the most premium unboxing experience that I've ever had from any 1/6 scale figure company, and we've not even gotten to the stuff inside the box yet. It's covered in this rubberized soft touch coating everywhere, not just on this top flap. Then we've got this subtle yet classy gold foil and silver foil artwork that's tactile. You can feel it as you run your fingers across the surface of the box. The gold foil extends over the edges onto this side flap, which is held in place with magnets. On the inside of it, we've got a sepia tone version of the scroll artwork we saw on the pre-art box, the shipper, and this pearlescent white rice paper style sheet. It's heavily textured. I apologize for it blowing out like that. It's just the nature of the pearlescent coating. Underneath that, we've got the instruction manual, I think. Yep. And even this is awesome. It's covered in fabric and it's got cardboard on the inside. It's very thick and sturdy. And what do you know? We finally have an INART logo. For those of you who don't know what this is, it's not just a 1/6 scale Destined one figure. It's also the collector's edition of the game. That's why we've got this steelbook. On the inside, a postcard and a cheeky little monkey that's meant to be Wukong, I think. This is the COA, letting you know which number you have. I'm 99% sure they made 2,000 copies of these. This is my favorite unboxing ever. It just keeps giving and giving. This next layer still isn't even the figure. We've got more stuff to look at before we get to the figure, which is not in this box. It's underneath it in a separate box entirely. Off to one side, we have a real fabric printed scroll. I need to find a way to display this because it looks gorgeous. Just like the artwork on the inside of the flap and on the art box, it's the same scroll imagery. This envelope contains some stamps for some reason, but they're there if you want them. And then we've got 3 mini boxes up top. I've actually forgotten the order in which these are packed, so I don't quite remember what's inside each of them. Starting off with the one on the far left, The box is made of a very thick, sturdy cardstock, and we've got this plush, velvety lining on the inside. This is a real metal pin. You can wear it. It's nice and aged and distressed. I know this guy. This is the bird crane dude that transforms the trapped lady into a pill, if I remember correctly. It's got some gold speckling on it. We'll look at all of these little bits in way more detail later on. Behind door number 2, inside this box, it's the same exact box. They don't tell you what's inside them before you get to them. Ah yes, this is the Wukong ring. I'm not sure if he wears this in the game. I didn't closely study his fingers. If you know, just weigh in down below. This is also die cast, and there's an inscription on the inside that says, you could have guessed this, I'm sure, Black Myth Wukong. I know exactly what the third one is. This is actually one of the curios from the game. It's the wind chime that slightly increases movement speed. I did use this one for a while, but I swapped it out for something a little bit more useful later on. This die-cast chain. It's a very long chain. You could always wear this. It's not in scale with 1/6, I don't think, so I won't be displaying this with my Wukong figure. Speaking of the figure, as fun as this unboxing experience has been, like, I want to live in this unboxing forever because it has been truly that memorable, it's time to look at Wukong, or the Destined one himself, I think. On the bottom layer, we've got the figure on the left, and then all of his accessories on the right. First, in-hand impressions. So far, so good. He feels nice and weighty, and this outfit is chock full of detail. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. It may not look like a lot. If you don't count the curios, then it technically isn't. But these pieces pack a punch. The display base is compact. It's very tall, so it's going to give him an added height boost. It's a round centerpiece style base. And the detail is just flawless. We've got a dragon or a lung wrapping its way around this top piece. The lion dogs at the bottom. Their mouths are properly open. You can see straight through them. And the paint. So many layers of paint. Dark grey, then a lighter grey dry brush, a black wash in the crevices, green shading, lighter green shading, yellow, brownish orange. There is so much to look at on this. It's a very flat platform on top, so as a base, it's functional. You see this? This is not a crotch grabber. It clamps around his calf, and you can angle it around the back of him, so it's never going to be visible. That means there's no magnets inside this base. People who hate the INART base magnets, you are going to be very happy with this solution. If they want to use it going forward with normal non-collector's edition game figures, I would be down for that. This clamp all the way down to the bottom is full die-cast metal. Then the top pieces, they're covered in this soft rubber, so this isn't going to do any damage to his calf. This is new. They've included a tool for moving the eyes around this time. Previously, you just use your finger or a single joystick. The eyes are individually articulated. You can use this tool, or you can still use your finger. It's down to personal preference. Not an accessory. This is part of him. It's his tail. It does come packaged separately, so I thought we'd look at it in the accessory segment just briefly. It's cast out of PVC. It's very soft, so if you happen to put some pressure on this as you're posing him, it's not going to snap on you. Even though it is made out of a softer material, the detail isn't soft. It's anything but. You can see all of the individual strands of hair sculpted in, and the way they've hit it with a lighter dry brush highlights all of that sculpt work. Oh, and the peg is keyed, so it only goes in one way. I was right, they are curios, and this version of the Destined one has clearly beaten the Yin Tiger. That's why he's got 3 curios equipped. The Gold Sun Crow increases damage bonus, and I was also wrong, I guess, because this is not the dude that turns the trapped lady into a pill for you to take. Diecast, we've already been through that. In the game, it's not a pin, but in this collector's edition, it is. You can just wear this or pop it on your backpack or something. The Thunderstone ring. That's what this is. It protects you, it gives you shock resistance. It's another curio. You can wear this. It's a little bit small for my fingers, but I mean, if you wanted to get it resized, I suppose you could go to a jeweler and get that done. People are going to accuse me of not playing the game. I promise you, I finished it. 100% completion. All of the secret bosses. I just didn't collect all of the frickin' curios. That's why I didn't know what those two are. The wind chime I was right about. This has got a very mottled metal texture to it on the surface. That would have been baked into the mold, I assume. There's a subtle gold or brassy coloured dry brush just on the high spots, and that does give it a very aged look. The Destined 1 staff is not made of wood. It's doable in 1/6 scale, a staff like this in real wood. Carving all of this stuff in top and bottom, then inlaying the metallic pieces, they would probably have to be die cast if this was wood. Not worth the trade-off. Being, if you're trying to get this into his gripping hands and you put too much pressure on it, it might snap or crack or splinter. Not ideal. I much prefer a PVC sculpted plastic staff. I believe there might be a metal rod inside of it because this is quite heavy and it doesn't flex a ton. Like, this was dead straight out of the box. Normally a PVC staff might have some warping to it. I didn't have to grab a hairdryer. It looked exactly like this as soon as I opened the packaging. This is the gourd you drink from in the game to heal yourself, and depending on what soaks you have equipped, it gives you other benefits. I went with one that has like a slow health regen after you've already taken a sip, and it gave me some mana back. The net at the bottom is sculpted, but this tassel up top is just real string. There's a mottled, speckled, rough texture to the gourd, and that extends underneath this sculpted netting. This can be stored on his outfit. I'll show you where it goes a little bit later. INART have always impressed me with their hand sculpts. They get better with each release. These are the best I've ever seen from them. The separate fingernails painted in gloss black, the skin texture, the wrinkling, but it's the fur that gets me the most. Seeing the lighter strands sitting proud of the surface, it makes the sculpt work look very HD. Now, if you're trying to pry the grips open to install the staff inside of the gripping hands, without using hot water or a hairdryer, you are going to struggle. The plastic they've used for these, quite stiff and sturdy, and I think they've gone with a firmer plastic so that the staff is actually properly gripped by them. It's not sliding around all over the place when he's holding it. Then we've got two style pose hands for the left, a 2-finger gesture, and this one with his thumb tucked in. There's even some shading on the base of the fingernails. A gripping/gourd holding hand, and 2 relaxed open palm hands already installed on him right out of the box. What we're going to do now is get the Destined 1 himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. This, to put it simply, is perfect. It's a perfect 1/6 scale Destined 1. They went with sculpted hair versus rooted. I'm on board with that because that means you don't have to do any styling right out of the box, and the way they've sculpted it is extremely convincing. You'll see when we zoom in just a second. The outfit is full fabric. You can pose the shit out of this figure, which I intend to do. You don't get a ton of accessories, but you get the basics. The stand, massive improvement compared to the magnet system. And the P's, presence and proportions. He has both of them. The proportions are spot on to the game model, and presence. I'm not sure if you're picking up on the vibe that I'm getting in person. This just feels special. It's like we're looking at a figure that we just don't get to see the likes of very often. How layered the outfit is, how badass he looks with the expression on the sculpt. It's something that is going to stand the test of time, in my opinion. I can't wait to see that full Wukong armor set version of him. But I'm so happy I got this one now. Up close and personal, kicking things off with the Destined 1's head sculpt. It's flawless. This is a flawless victory. I know, a different game. But still, I don't know how else to describe this sculpt. It is so good. The detail, we'll get to that. It's the expression that sells me the most. This intensely furrowed brow combined with the frown, he looks straight up pissed. It's going to work in so many dynamic poses. Maybe the Tiger Vanguard has beaten him one too many times, and that's why he looks like this. Because I know I pulled a face like this when he beat me one too many times. Now we can talk about the detail. The skin tone and skin texture match between the sculpted torso and neck versus the head sculpt. Perfect. It's a match. No complaints there. Then the way the skin texture has been painted with that speckling of red and the green shading underneath it to mimic veins. Very realistic. At first, I thought I would miss rooted hair because there's so much of it, like on his head, the mutton chops, the beard, even on his neck, on his torso. The more I think about it, nah, I don't think rooted hair would have worked for this. It would have required infinite styling, just constantly having to comb this and style it. Going sculpted, it means you don't have to do any of that. It's always going to look exactly like this right out of the box. And the way they've painted it with the dry brushing and the washes in it, there's a lot of depth. It almost comes across as though this is real hair from a distance. These little strands are soft plastic. You don't have to worry about breakage, even if you put pressure on them trying to move the head sculpt around. Look at that, this fine layer of sculpted hair at the base of the head that just sits over the top of the sculpted hair on the neck that's painted in the exact same way. And there's some shading underneath the sculpt. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm enamored by the detail on this piece. But we've not even gotten to the best part yet. This sculpt has moving eyes. I thought maybe this would be a watered down INART figure because it's a collector's edition game pack-in, and it would skip the moving eyes and the intricate details on the outfit and the paint applications. No. They didn't skip any of that. This figure does have moving eyes. I've gotten in even closer now so you can see the detail on the surface of the sculpt. There is a seam underneath his ear on both sides. It's very small. It's not a deal breaker for me. If it is for you, at least now you know about it. Underneath the sculpt, it is a hollow one, but there's a very tight gap at the front, so trying to move the eyes around with your finger might not be the best option. I would suggest using the tool, but in a pinch, if you don't have the tool handy, yes, your finger will work, or at least your fingernail will. I'm partial to some side eye myself, you'll already know that about me, so I might just display him like this in my collection. Look at that. How can you beat that? For a Wukong 1/6 scale figure, I don't think you can. When you angle the sculpt forward, and you can do that because the neck is nice and soft, looking up through that furrowed brow, he looks even angrier somehow. I'm curious to see what he looks like not only with his eyes off to this side, but the other, and looking up and down. Let's try all 4 eye positions out. Ooh, I like this one. Let me know in the comments below which eye position is your favorite. This is looking up. You can see a lot of the white underneath his eyes. I'm not sure if you can tell on camera, there is some subtle red vein work on them, just underneath the high gloss finish. This is not an eye position that works with every sculpt. It's expression dependent. If the expression doesn't allow for this to work, it's going to look terrible. This sculpt rocks this eye position. He's either looking down at you about to kick your butt, or he's looking down at something that he's found and he's genuinely shocked. Back to side eye. Either way, his eyes are going to be looking to the side, whether it's left or right, not entirely sure yet. Combined with a head tilt forward, I like that. That's not bad. He looks cocky now. It's such a versatile sculpt. You will see what I mean if you decide to pick this figure up. Around the back, this outfit is called the Ebon Gold armor set. A mix of ebony and gold. It's craftable after you beat the final Yao Guai boss in Chapter 1, the Black Bear Guai. Is this the Black Bear Guai? What's left of him? It may very well be. It's faux fur, it's not real. There's some more of it tucked up underneath the shoulder pad, and we've got some added pelts underneath these wired tabards. This is new for them. They wired Superman's cape, but the sleeves, the robes, the capes, the cloaks for Aragorn and Gandalf, they were not wired. So they've been learning. Both these pieces are wired, the side ones, and the massive one around the front all wired. Not to mention this sleeve is wired at the front. All of the fabric bits are weathered. These tabards, they're very dirty, and you can see that metallic gold for the detail, yeah? It's even on the underside, it wraps around the edges. The strings, the buckles, the undershirt, weathered. Recently, Hot Toys, when they make a figure with weathered armor, they've not been weathering the fabric, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. You really need to weather both, not just the sculpted pieces, but also the fabric. It's difficult to do at a mass production level, but somehow they've managed to figure it out. Now, if you're wondering how to attach the tail to his butt, there's a slit in his skirt right there, but I've ignored that because it does pull up on the tail, and sometimes it detaches because of it. So I've skipped that, and I've plugged it directly through the hole in his pants to his sculpted booty. It's a keyed peg, as we discussed earlier in the accessory segment, so thread it through the pants, push it in place, it's a secure fit, that tail isn't going anywhere once it's been installed. It's a very layered outfit, isn't it? With the black undershirt that's very poofy, it's going to allow for plenty of range of motion, and it's weathered, but we've already been through that. You can split it open to reveal heaps of detail on his neck and torso. I'm curious how far that goes, actually. You can't split it open all the way. Someone more adventurous than I am is probably going to open this up and display him shirtless. I'm, like I said, not interested in doing that. His shoulder pad is held in place with these straps connected underneath the top flap of his shirt. We've got the black pelt tucking into the top of the belts. And these two dangling pieces are rubbery plastic and they're adjustable. The beads do tend to slide down off his shoulder. I would suggest dialing in the pose first and then adjusting these beads accordingly. I am in love with the sculpt work on this shoulder pad. It's multi-segmented. We've got one tucked up underneath the main piece, then this head over the top of it, making it look like it's chomping down on it almost. There's some red pinstriping, some stitching sculpted in, and the paintwork is just metallic enough so that when light bounces off the surface, all three of these armor pieces look like they could foreseeably be made out of metal. They've also used that metallic paint on the gauntlets and his shin guards, but we'll get to them. This one, though, is slightly darker than the gauntlet on the left side, and we've got a pad only on the left, not the right. They've weathered the red bits underneath them, and these straps are not made of pleather. There's some other kind of synthetic material, but the buckles are real die-cast metal. It looks as though they're made up of little individual pieces of armor, thanks to the string threaded through them, but they're not. This is just one sculpted piece of PVC plastic. So the Gourd, it's challenging to install on the belt. The way that I did it was I threaded it through this string upside down, then I rotated it counterclockwise, and friction holds it in place. The instructions don't mention how to do this, but I looked at some pictures and I looked at the in-game reference model for the Destined one, and this is how it's meant to look. The red string you can leave dangling down however you like, really. Coming down to his legs, the front sash is wired. This isn't, unfortunately. I think it should have been. It's small, still, having this billowing off in the wind with the front sash, I would have liked to have seen that. Underneath it, the pelt, then underneath that, some very baggy and disheveled weathered looking trousers. The shin guards are done in the exact same way as the gauntlets, single pieces of sculpted plastic with the straps over the top and the real metal buckles. If there was an award for the most realistic 1/6 scale bare feet, it would go to INART for this Destined one. The vein work, the skin texture, like look at that wrinkling right there in between the big toe and the rest of them. That looks like real life wrinkled skin. Even the musculature on the inside of the foot. Normally, there'd be sculpted tread underneath 1/6 scale figure's feet, but he's barefoot, so we've got 1/6 scale sculpted foot detail. The seam line, I'm not a huge fan of. I think they could have done away with that, just a single piece sculpt. We don't even have magnets inside the feet, so that seam didn't need to be there. Whoa, jump scare, I'm sorry for showing you him headless like this. I wanted to move the eyes back to the stock position and discuss this cylindrical neck connector. If you find that his neck is looking a little bit long on your copy like this and the head is loose, you may not have it seated all the way down on that neck connector. Just give it a push. Once you feel it grip onto it and it sits over the top of the neck properly, and it doesn't look overly long, then you know you've installed it on the body correctly. I'm well aware of the fact that Black Myth Wukong is not a PS5 exclusive, but it sure as shit isn't on Xbox, just PC and PS5 for now. That's why, for a quick side-by-side comparison, I ended up going with an actual PS5 exclusive character. This is the unlicensed VTS Toys Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. I tried to find something comparable in terms of the detail and the intricacy of the outfit. As you can see, the Destined one, he's slightly taller than Jin Sakai is. That's because of his spiky hair. At the shoulders, they are very close in height. It's just the hair that's making the Destined one look taller. Going over articulation, I've removed his gourd and tail so that they don't get in our way, and also because they may fall off as we push the joints to their limit. Starting off with his head sculpt, there's a rubbery neck underneath it and a double ball peg inside of that neck. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, heaps of range for a lung fighting pose, swivel and pivot side to side. His arms will go up to there. This one might be more restricted because of the shoulder pad. Going forward and back, there's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. And look how flush the arms can go down by his sides, all the way, no problem. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90, then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. A joint at the midsection and another one at the waist, combined, crunching forward to there. The detail piece underneath his shirt is a rubbery overlay, so slightly more restricted. Going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. His legs will go forward to there, nice baggy trousers. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee on ratchets going past 90. And a double ball peg for the ankles, good for forward and back, rotation, as well as heaps of ankle tilt. Seriously, that's tons of it. Wrapping up on INART, Black Myth Wukong, the Destined one. This is a perfect figure. It is top 5 releases from any company for me ever. That's how good this is. It does the game justice. The game was beautiful to look at. It was punishingly difficult. I spent a lot of time as the Destined one, so I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp of what would translate that game character into a decent 1/6 scale release. They did it. Proportions, presence, he oozes presence. The detail on the outfit, the accessories, they're simple yet effective, but it's the head sculpt for me. It's so expressive, and he's got moving eyes. You can use that expression to your advantage. The only complaint I have with this piece is you can't really buy it. Unless you get the collector's edition of the game, or you live in China, you're shit out of luck really. You can go through a reseller like I did, then you're going to be paying a premium on the aftermarket. I was willing to do that because of my connection to the game. Some folks very likely aren't going to be willing to do what I did. They want this guy at retail, and I don't blame you. Even paying the premium that I did, the unboxing experience was crazy. Like, it was so good, and he comes with so many little bits and pieces, tertiary stuff like scrolls and artwork and whatnot. It made it worth it for me. Will I pick up the fully armored version of Wukong, or maybe the Wukong Armor Destined one? Not quite sure how they're going to sell it, we'll have to wait and see. 100%. This figure has convinced me. I am all in on that. Now, I've popped that RSVP link to INART Direct in the description. jump on the list. As soon as the final Wukong Armor one is made available for pre-order, you will be the first to be notified. While you're down there, I got my copy of this figure, the collector's edition of the game, minus the actual game code, from One Man's Hobby, and I've included a link to their site down in that description. If you're heading that way, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.